In this video, I'll be showing you how to write a Bossa Nova bass line. Hey, it's Tobey here once again from Jazz Mental. Thanks for attending another one of my tutorials. The Bossa Nova was a very popular style of music which was introduced to North America in the 60s by Stan Getz and Gilberto. And it's become really part of the jazz genre for quite a while since then. And I think it's important for all musicians to understand how Bossa Nova works, and that driving bass line is really important part of that. So if you're a piano player and you want to learn how to play left-hand bass, you can copy the style from this video. Or if you're an arranger and you need to know how to write a Bossa Nova bass line, please watch and study all the elements of this video. So I'm going to cover how the bass line works with the chords as they go by. And let's dive in right now and get started. All right, so here we are inside my arrangement of Summertime. Yes, Summertime is normally done with straight ahead swing, but I like to switch things up a little bit. In this case, we're going to use it for Bossa Nova. So I've got my drums in there and I've got my melody note in there. Let's listen to that and see what that sounds like. Okay, pretty straight ahead, and obviously the drum is pretty simple, but I think it makes a lot of sense to keep it like that until you get further into the arrangement. So let's get started on the bass line now. The elements that are really common to Bossa Nova bass lines is essentially a dotted quarter note to eighth note, with the eighth note always anticipating the next chord. Well, not always. In most cases, it anticipates the next chord. So we're going to start to spell out the chords here. And essentially what it does is it goes dotted quarter to eighth. If the chord doesn't change, then it goes to the fifth of the chord. So in this case, it would be a G minor 7. So start on the root and then go to the fifth of the chord. And then anticipate the next chord, which is the A minor 7 flat 5, like that. And then a dotted quarter, and then because the chord changes again, go back to D, and then anticipate the next chord, which is G minor. And it would help if I put an eighth note instead of a quarter note. There we go. And then there, and then we're going to the fifth because the chord doesn't change. Back to the root, to the fifth, and then anticipate the next chord, which is C minor 7. So another 2-5 is coming up. We're going to go C minor 7 to F7 to B flat, which is a 2-5-1 in B flat. So there's your C, and then spell the chord, the root of the chord, and then anticipate the F7, anticipate the B flat, anticipate the E flat, and then anticipate the A. Now here's a situation where I know I said if the chord doesn't change, go to the fifth of the chord. The challenge with that, with an A minor 7 flat 5 chord, is the fifth is flatted. So depending on what the melody note is, in this case it is an A, which is the root of the chord, the fifth would be essentially a tritone, which might clash. But let's write it in anyway and see what happens when we play it back. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the flat 5, which is E flat, not E natural. So we're going to go to E flat. Then the next is D to the fifth. And now we want to go to the G. So sometimes what you might want to do is just go directly to the G and anticipate it, but you can also use the root of the chord as a passing note. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to use the root as a passing and then go down to G. Go to the fifth of the chord, back to the root. Now what we have is a 2-5 which goes over 2 beats instead of the entire bar. So the piano player will probably do something like this. which is C minor 7 to F7, over those two beats. So what the bass can do is spell the roots of those chords just with quarter notes. So let's put in a C, F, and now we're on up here to the B flat. Anticipate the E flat. Go to the fifth of the chord because the chord doesn't change. Anticipate the A. And then because the melody note is quarter notes, the bass could play a dotted quarter to an eighth note, but in this case, let's just stick with 2 quarter notes to help set up the next section. All right, let's listen to that back, and we can make any changes as we're listening to it. So the only thing I hear here is just like the ending of the tune, those 2 notes, which you might want to, instead of playing dotted quarter to eighth in the bass, you might want to just play 2 quarter notes. So that would be, I would say D to G, just like that. Let's hear what that sounds like. Much better, yeah. So you can hear how that flat 5 sounds in that chord. It's pretty interesting. I think it works in this case. Right, so as soon as you start adding chords to that, it starts to sound a lot like music. So let's see if we can maybe play that a little bit and see what happens. So you can see that as the chords are going by, I'm kind of learning how to play simply behind that, just little compings with the piano. Now, typically the piano would probably not be as busy as that. It might be simpler than that if the first A goes by. And that is my take on how to write a bass line for Bossa Nova songs. I hope that was helpful to you. Just try to remember that it is always dotted quarter to eighth note, dotted quarter to eighth note, and the eighth note typically anticipates the next chord unless you're using it as a passing note and unless the melody clashes with the dotted quarter and eighth note. And that's pretty much it. I hope that was helpful to you. Thanks for hanging out for one of these jazz tutorials. This is a fairly new YouTube channel, and we'd be really grateful if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. So we'll be adding about 5 videos a week just like this one. The videos are mainly focused on technical skills development, recording tips, and even professional and business development for musicians like you who want some help from a professional musician like myself. So I've toured 17 different countries, made 8 albums, was signed to a really good label, and made a full-time living as a professional artist. So I know and I'm confident that I can be a great resource for you. Subscribe now and I'll see you in another video.